I come from 3 generations of jewelers, and though my family is no longer in the business, I still enjoy buying and selling loose gemstones for my own collection or to be set into custom pieces. I am extremely close to my husband's family, and I have either cheaply sold or simply given them stones or rings to propose to their significant others. My oldest brother-in-law has been dating his girlfriend for the past 6 years, and while they are both a piece of work, to say the least, they're family, so we tolerate them in doses. While we talk to and visit the other in-laws on a weekly basis, these two only come around when an event is going on or when they need money. And they always need money. My pending sister-in-law, while sweet at times, is mostly bratty, tacky, spoiled, and loud. She usually is the source of drama and my current headache at the moment. Every first Saturday of the month, the family hooks up for breakfast. Things started off normally today, but they announced that finally, they were ready to tie the knot. We all had genuine excitement and breakfast turned into a boozy celebration. Then near the end, while everyone is waiting for the check, they ask if they can come back to the house to pick out a ring. Just like that. Mic drop. It shocked me because they didn't ask, he didn't come to me or hubby beforehand to see if it was even a possibility. And while I do have some options, I did not appreciate the assumption that I was going to pull diamonds out of my pocket without any discussion and straight up said no. I'd be willing to help them find something at their price point commercially. My inner smog woke up. All hell broke loose. She straight up throws a fit and begins calling out my other sister-in-laws, who did have help from me with their rings, and of course they are embarrassed. It's not something we just talk about, and I don't hang it over anyone's head. Brother-in-law starts trying to pick a fight with my husband, telling him that he needs to check me. All of this is driving home that my on-the-spot decision was the right one. Drama apparently wants to have its day because while most of the table is trying to defuse this until we can leave the restaurant, my mother-in-law of all people throws rocket fuel on the dumpster fire by saying that I'm being selfish and that there's no reason why we shouldn't help. She and I have had our differences in the past, during my and my husband's crazy teenage years, but haven't openly feuded since we've been adults. Being the superhero that he is, my husband got us out of there, but since this morning, we have been ignoring our phones as this plays out. We're both pissed. Not the idiot. The entitlement is strong with this one. I'm completely disgusted with the bride-to-be, but equally disgusted with your husband's family. Why do they think that, 1, your husband will disagree with your decision, and 2, you have the type of relationship where your husband makes the decisions, especially when it sounds like this is your business? Stand strong on your decision. You did nothing wrong. They blindsided you. The entire family owes you an apology. Good luck. Not the idiot. I think they should have asked beforehand. Having them assume that you're just going to help out makes you entitled to say no. Honestly, at the beginning of your post, I was going to suggest that you should consider helping them if they ask nicely. However, after reading the part where your brother-in-law told your husband to check you, I hope you don't ever help them. That shows how little your brother-in-law and his new fiancée cares about you. Not the idiot. You don't give trash nice things. I'm sorry. I have a sister-in-law that I wouldn't give a ring pop to, let alone a diamond. I'm sure if you'd give them a ring that it would get sold at some point in the near future or get lost, and you can bet they would be asking you for a replacement. Don't do it. You owe them nothing. Please lock up your valuables in your safe, especially if your mother-in-law has a key. Or change the locks. Or both, ideally. But you are certainly not the idiot for not giving them a ring. I am 46. The woman in question is an old family friend who I'll call OF. She is also 46. My mother passed away last year from a long battle with cancer. She was in her early 70s and I was an only child, so I inherited everything. Now, my mother's passing was awful, but I inherited her house, which was a positive. My wife and I had never been able to buy a house after years of struggles and renting, so to finally own our own property was great. We only had to pay out for utilities, and it meant we had a lot more disposable income, and we could finally give our 2 kids, 12 and 15, what they deserved. We moved into the house about 6 months ago, and it started off fine until OF came into the picture. OF's mom was my mom's best friend. She died years ago, so my mom became like a surrogate mom to her. Unbeknownst to me, my mom said to OF on her deathbed that I'd take care of her, and the house was vaguely mentioned. I think my mom in her ill state mentioned giving me the house and OF wildly misconstrued. So imagine my surprise when about a month ago, OF turns up in her car with her 3 kids and what looks like some of her belongings. She stepped out and knocked on the door to speak to me. OF, I wasn't expecting to see you. Sorry. I wanted to allow you the time to grieve. However, I'm here because of what your mom promised me. Promised you? She said you'd look after me and the house, so obviously she wants me and the kids to live here because she wanted us to have the house. What? Isn't this great? The kids and I can finally own our own home. OF, this is my house. It's what mom told you, but she was very ill, very delirious, and in her will, I got everything. That's not right. She promised me I'd be looked after. Well, I'm sorry, but you have no claim to this house or anything she left behind. I'm sorry you've been led to believe that, but this house is owned by my wife and I. I would appreciate it if you would leave. OF started kicking up a fuss, demanding to leave, and even got her and the kids out of the car and sat on my lawn. They were there for 3 hours, and I basically called the cops. The kids were picked up by a relative, but OF refused arrest and were dragged away in a car. She was bailed but is facing a minor charge of trespassing and a fine. She has been rallying around everyone in my family to convince them that I robbed her of her inheritance and I'm an evil person for denying what's hers. It's so bad I even had to provide proof to the police that my wife and I own the house and even a copy of my mom's will. They even spoke to mom's lawyers who all confirm OF doesn't have a legal foot to stand on. She has continued to harass my family and is now facing charges of harassment. I think maybe I could have dealt with this more rationally as she was led to believe something different, so am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I think that if she had been acting in good faith she would have messaged or called you to let you know some time before showing up. She hoped to put you on the spot and move in before you could really think it all through. I'd honestly not be surprised if she's making up your mum saying anything about the house or you looking after her to her. The way she's gone about this really seems suspect to me, not what someone who really thought they were in the right would do. Not the idiot. If your mother wanted to give them the house, she would have put it in her will, and she probably wasn't in a clear state of mind and probably didn't mean it literally, but figuratively, as in that, you should keep the friendship up. She is that she tried moving in without asking about the will, stating her assumption, and without talking to you first, as well as reacting the way she did, and given how she reacted, she might not be fitting for friendship in the way your mother might have intended, as she probably would never let go of the house story. Not the idiot. If your mom really wanted OF taken care of and for the house to go to her, then you'd think there'd be some sort of evidence to substantiate her claims. Sounds like the law is on your side on everything. If you politely ask her to leave and she refused, then she put herself in the predicament she now finds herself with the police. If it were me, I'd put up a camera or 2 outside. From your description she doesn't sound like the type to accept things and walk away. This spans roughly 10 years. Roommates in college for 1 semester, best friends. She started dating a guy, they got pregnant, got married and had the baby. I met my husband through her spouse shortly after that. A few months into my relationship with my then boyfriend, we got pregnant. Unexpected but happy. Ended in a pretty traumatic miscarriage at 13 weeks. My friend's response to that? Along the lines of, perhaps it's because you don't believe in God, and did you do something you weren't supposed to? Needless to say, I cut contact at that point. I got married, we got pregnant, had our first son. They moved states away. A few years went by. Our husbands were still friendly. We ended up moving locally to them due to job relocation. She reached out, but kind of just tiptoed around it. I started cautiously seeing and talking to her again. Pregnant with our second then, after a couple of years of infertility struggles. Crap happened and my husband went insane due to the stress of his job. Drinking heavily, disappearing for the weekends. She knew this was a huge problem and was causing me insane anxiety. Obviously because of her. Turns out, after one of those weekends, it came to light my husband was camped out at her house. She insisted she did not know. She lived in a 1-bedroom apt. She knew. And she lied when I outright asked her the night before if he was there or if she could ask her spouse to contact him. She went on to say that she is only looking out for her because he's her friend. Dude, were we not friends way before we met these 2 guys? Needless to say. I cut contact again. Horrific, dangerous pregnancy, baby in the NICU, we both nearly died. Husband issues went on for another year or so before he finally started being aware and took a step back from the job and coworkers that led him on that path in the first place. She never reached out. Another 4 years went by. And she started contacting me. At first, skirting around the baby by dropping hints and asking vague questions about some baby items. When I stopped responding because I just did not want to engage with her anymore because everything about her was just toxic, she messaged again last night. That she's finally having a son after 2 miscarriages, they have a daughter, and she's so scared. I'm sorry, but why the hell should I care? She knew his behavior caused me panic attacks and severe anxiety while I was high-risk pregnancy. She accused me of bringing my miscarriage onto myself. I don't want her back in my life. I could not care less at this point. So, would I be the idiot if laid it right out to her? Or what would you do? And I just say that it's pretty obvious your husband is awful and you seem to blame everybody except him. He lies and overdrinks and it's a darn coworker's fault. He disappears and it's her fault for not telling you where he was. It seems like you choose to be around an awful group of people, your friend, her husband and your husband, and then just focus your anger on whoever is most convenient for you. You don't have to be involved with any of these god-awful human beings. You don't owe it to anyone to have a relationship with them of any kind. After the crap she pulled, there's no way I'd tolerate her germy breath in my life at all. You would not the idiot for cutting her off. The right thing is to just ignore her and block her entirely. At most, tell her you're not interested in being her friend and then block her. Let your husband know what's up, since it seems that her husband and her still have some kind of friendship going on and she may try to use him to go around your block. Not the idiot. Firstly, I'm sorry for your loss. I hope you and your second child are fully recovered now. Don't let her back into your life. You needed her support and she didn't give it. Not even support, just an honest answer, and she lied. And now she wants your support. It must be hard to be pregnant anyway, never mind after miscarrying. I get she may be scared. However, she blamed you for yours. Made you feel worse when you were at your lowest and now wants you to hold her hand. Nope. Enjoy the life you've got. You and your husband and your amazing children. All the best for the future. So I lent a friend of mine £500. He needed it to see him through till the end of the month and promised to repay me on payday. Not a problem, I trusted the guy and knew he was good for it. Payday comes and goes, no sign of the money. I sent him a message about it. He said, "Oh yeah, sorry I forgot, I'll do that now." 2 weeks pass and still nothing. I message him again. He said he'd send me the money. Still nothing. He was then avoiding me, so I wasn't able to see him face to face. I messaged him again and he didn't reply. 7 months have passed since the day he promised to have the money back to me. I've not been able to get hold of him, nor have I seen him. This weekend just gone, I was out at a restaurant and I happened to see him as I was being seated at my table. He was on what looked like a date. Now at this point, I could see he was acting kinda bozy because he had ordered about 5 starters. It's worth noting that this is a pretty pricey restaurant. So I decided I'd go and say hello. I pulled up a chair at his table and started chatting to him about how he is and how I am, etc. I then proceeded to pick up a fork and try a bit of the food. He looked a bit shocked, but it was good food, so I tried something from one of the other plates. At this point, his date, I'd learned that this was their second date, said to me, "Excuse me, but this is our food. What do you think you're doing?" I looked at her and said, "Well, since I'm pretty much funding this meal, I figured I may as well sample what my money is getting." I then said to my friend, "It was nice to see you, I'll leave you to it. We can catch up another day." I then left to go back to my table. The people I were with, a party of 10, had very mixed reactions to my behavior. Some were in favor of what I'd done, others not so much. So I'm asking you a lot, am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. He for not paying you back and you for how you handled it. A friendly reminder in front of his date along the lines, "Hey, I don't know if you know. It's probably just a mistake, but you still didn't send me the £500 I lent you some months ago. The last time I called or messaged your number seems to have blocked me. When can I expect the money back?" Probably would have done the trick. But sitting down, eating their food is just rude and somewhat disgusting. If he doesn't pay you back after that, which he probably won't, you should seek legal advice. You're the idiot. I get that the guy is an idiot for not paying back the money he borrowed, but that's not the question here. The question is if you acted like an idiot by pulling up a chair at their table and helping yourself to their food. I mean, come on bro, you have to know that was a bad move on your part. Maybe it felt good and it made you smile to do that to him, but it was still a bad move. Don't loan friends or family money. If you have the money to help them out, just make it a gift. Most people will pay you back, but don't expect it. Not the idiot. If it was like after a week and a mistake had happened, then I'd have said you are the idiot. But continuously lying and avoiding to pay even after 7 months, that guy had it coming, and I don't think you're an idiot for making such a seemingly drastic move to get your point across. You've already tried getting in contact with him multiple times, there's no longer an excuse from his side. Even if he couldn't have afforded it, he could be like, okay, I can't give you all 500 right away, but would you take 100 each month for the next 5 months? He didn't even attempt anything of the sort. First and foremost, my son doesn't like me. Not in a bratty I hate you because you didn't let me get McDonald's way, but in a more subtle way. It's been like this since the beginning. His first word was mommy, and it took him another year to say daddy. When mom comes home from work, it's always I missed you so much. How was your day? I saved you some crackers, but when I come home from work, my son doesn't bother even coming down from his room to greet me. If I want to know anything about my son's life outside of the home, I have to learn it through my wife. I've tried everything to get him to like me. I took time off of work to spend more time with him, buy him gifts, etc., but he acts like I'm a stepfather trying to force my way into his life. My wife knows how I feel, but always tells me that I'm reading too much into it and that he's just a mommy's boy. I've had to deal with this for 9 years, and it's starting to get to me. It just makes me sad that my own son doesn't love me as much as his mom. I can count on 2 hands the number of times he's hugged or kissed me, which should say a lot. 2 weeks ago, I told my wife I wanted to have another child. She agreed immediately and actually seemed really excited about it until I said I wanted a child that actually loved me. She did the whole shtick of "oh, that's not true, he's just a mommy's boy," and laughed it off. I laughed with her too, but the next day she seemed really distant. She seemed uncomfortable around me and spent the day avoiding me. I think she might be reconsidering having another kid. I don't resent my wife or my son at all. I just want to have a kid that actually shows affection and love towards me, not one that gives me the cold shoulder and silent treatment for absolutely no reason. Am I the idiot for this reason for wanting another child? No idiots here. In my view, it's not a wrong reason to want a child, and indeed, a major reason I even exist is because my mother was sad that my older brother was not affectionate enough with her, but it is a foolish reason, because no can't predict or guarantee what your next child will be like. But, go ahead and have another child if you and your wife agreed and can afford the time and money involved. Having a child is your prerogative as an adult. Roll the dice. Just be aware that the dice may or may not fall in your favor. No idiots here. You need to stop thinking for a bit. You may be right about your son, but your wife, who seems to be on your son's wavelength, seems to imply otherwise. Maybe put some credence into that. If your child is 9, has going to be a shadow of himself in a few years, maybe you'll get a different attitude then. But next, you proceed to extrapolate that your wife is having second thoughts about a child shortly after she agreed and seemed really excited about it. You aren't an idiot for wanting a second child, but just relax a bit. This sounds like incessant thinking. I'm a bit torn on the judgment since I think that wanting another child so that they actually love you is a bit misguided and selfish. That being said, wanting to feel love doesn't really make you an idiot. But the first step here is to seek out therapy for yourself and your family. You need to get to the root of the issue or it will likely repeat itself. I'm going to say you are not the idiot here, since these are more feelings than actions at this point. But I do think that if you actively pursue having a kid just to feel loved, then you are the idiot.